Thank you. AITD, for those of you who are a little unfamiliar with us, we're the peak industry organisation for the learning and development profession, and we have we've been engaging in a lot of new exercises to increase our networking across the country. Absolutely delighted that we've doubled the amount of people involved in the various communities and community groups around Australia. So there's going to be plenty more networking activities for you. We're all about leading, connecting and sharing. That's our values. We look to advocate on behalf of the profession. We look to provide opportunities for members to grow, to connect and to do courses. AITD has been around for 50 years and we would love to see those of you who aren't members to join up and be part of the crew. I also wanted to acknowledge Christine, who is a partner with AITD. She's been a long-term partner with us, and you would have seen Christine do amazing work at the AITD conference recently, runs masterclasses on a regular basis through AITD, and this is proving to be one of the most popular webinars that we've held. For those of you who are going to access the recording, I hope you enjoy as well, but even better that you're live, because you can ask plenty of questions, get involved with the surveys, and the rest that Christine has to offer today. Christine has a great resume. I looked at her LinkedIn just a moment ago, and it said she's very passionate about equal access to experience coaching to accelerate success. And she's also the founder of PEEPLCOACH. And she's been up for a number of awards and recently just presented at the Women's Institute, the Women's Leadership Institute conference on the topic of big dreams and hard decisions. Over to you, Christine. Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hold on a minute. I have not shared. I can do many things. Sometimes I can't do two things at the same time.
Thanks for admitting everybody at the same time. So I'll take over that now.
Okay. All right. Can you all see my screen? Can you see my screen?
We haven't seen the sharing yet.
Oh no. My God.
And we can't see all of you either.
There we go.
Okay. Can you see me now? Can you see the screen now?
Yep.
Yep, great. Okay, so I am the CEO and founder of PEEPLCOACH, and our mission is to unlock people potential. And today we're going to be talking about rethinking the employee value proposition. And the insights and let me say opinions of what I'm going to share today are based on a number of research studies that, done by Deloitte and Gartner, and I'm going to share some information from there. But I'm also going to be sharing insights that we've gained from the thousands and thousands of leaders that we coach every month. So some of it's anecdotal, but it's based on, many, many hours of coaching conversations, not just, me sitting in my room and thinking about this stuff. So what is our purpose here at PEEPLCOACH? To build impactful leaders and better businesses through the democratization of coaching. And we unlock people potential is what we do. So how is the workforce changing? And you guys in L&D, at me in HR, and any leaders that are participating here today, we know that the world's moving fast and what talent and our employees is looking for is changing. By 2030, 10,000 baby boomers will be turning 65 and retiring. Now, retiring should actually be in brackets, because 65 is like the new 55, and not everybody is retiring. I think, not just in Australia, but in a lot of the Western world, if you think about presidents that are, people that are running for presidency at 80, there's some information there. The Gen Z, so those born between 1995 and 2009, will constitute 30% of the workforce. Now, for any of you that are living with a Gen Z, any of you that are, employing Gen Zs or leading Gen Zs, they're a very different psyche, and I'm going to show you some evidence around that. It's not just, us older ones feeling difficult and them, us not knowing how to deal with it. There is actually a fundamental shift in the way Gen Z see the world. Diversity, inclusion, transparency are becoming critical and much more critical. We're looking for work-life balance overall. And the demographics in Australia will continue to change with positive net migration. And whether you like it or not, it's actually essential for Australia to continue to grow that we have positive net migration. So as a snapshot, by 2030, you can see that 33% will be Gen Z, 40-odd% will be millennials, 25% will be Gen Z, and, you know, a very small percentage of baby boomers. I think that we'll have some baby boomers, but it'll be, you know, maybe 1 or 2 or 3%. So that's what the data's saying. Now, for anybody who loves research, McCrindle Generational Research, I mean, McCrindle are a fantastic organisation, so I'm going to highlight them. But and depending on where you sit, we have potentially 5 generations of humans or employees in our organisations. So we've definitely got Gen Zs coming through, Gen Ys, Gen Xs, boomers, and builders. And whilst most builders are retired, builders, the youngest builders are 78. Now, there are still people in the workforce at 78, 80. There's still CEOs of businesses, especially privately owned businesses, that have a big iron fist still in their organisations and are leading, impacting culture. So I think there's lots of interesting things there around cars and toys, but I think the most interesting thing for me are the bottom few, which is leadership style. So if you think about builders that have come through the wars, it's very much a controlling, I'm the master, you're the servant, kind of direct to control. Going to baby boomers, so very direct to control sort of language and style. Don't talk to me, I'm the boss, you're not the boss, and so forth. Now, I'm a Gen Xer, so we as Gen Xers were then mentored, coached, trained. Well, not coached, we weren't coached. We were trained, we were told, we were theoretically developed by many baby boomers. So there's a large part of us that's used to being directed and controlled. So what we went into is coordinating and doing. So the Gen Xers, like, we're the ones that will complain about, why don't people just get on and do it? Why do they take so long? Why can't they hurry up? What's going on? Why do they have to keep asking questions? I couldn't ask questions when I was a Gen X, blah, blah, when I was learning, all those sort of things, because we were directed and told what to do, and then we just went off and did it, right? So the issue for Gen X leaders is that we can sometimes be too much in the weeds and not let our people go. The next generation, Gen Y, are into more guiding. So they're more supportive, they're more sharing. And then, you know, the styles that go to Gen Z are more, they need more empowering, and then alphas need inspiring. We all need inspiring, but I'll be honest, as a Gen X, we rarely got it, right? So we just sort of accepted we never got it and it didn't exist. Our alphas, and to a large extent our Gen Zs, they expect to be inspired. And that's what we're hearing. From a coaching perspective, when we're coaching Gen Zs, we're hearing things like, well, what are they bringing to me? They're not inspiring. I don't wish to be that person. Why would I want to stay here in this organisation and be like that? Their learning styles are different. So I think we all know now that how we used to learn and the interactivity that we had as Gen X, which we didn't really have, we're now into co-creation, and then the different modes, right? So there's a whole lot of change going on there. I'm not going to go into all the detail of all of this, but I want you to look at 3 areas in each of these slides. The first one is qualities valued in a leader, right? For baby boomers, it's clear communication, integrity, approachable. Their top hopes are full financial freedom, pursuit of interests and hobbies, travel and see the world. And their top fears are not having enough money to live comfortably, suffering a long-term illness, and they don't really have any big worries and fears because, you know, they're baby boomers and what's happened, and, you know, they like themselves, or at least they've accepted themselves, so they're not got all this imposter syndrome stuff. And so they've moved along, right? So Gen Xers, same values in a leader: approachable, clear communication, and integrity. Top hopes: financial freedom, travel and see the world, pursue interests. Top fears, I won't have enough money to live comfortably. So you're going to see a lot of themes and similarities, suffering a long-term illness and not reaching my full potential, right? So very much, here in, and this is the midlife crisis time. Is this it? Is this all I'm up for? What more can I be? And if I do get the promotion, is that it? So if you've got Gen Xers in your team that you're wanting to keep and maintain, it is about them understanding what their full potential is and then helping that achieve that. Now, that may not be what you want in the organization, but if you want to keep them, you're going to have to help them to understand what that is. And it's becoming less and less about just more money, even though money's important, but it's not just money. Generation Y, so this is the generation that's actually coming into, which we used to complain about, the millennials. We Xers used to complain a lot about these people. We don't complain so much about these people because we've got the next one coming along, the Gen Zs, primarily also because these people have been in the workforce for a longer period of time. They're now getting married, they're having children, or they're having other responsibilities. Now, interestingly enough, their values, what they value is still the same. Clear communication, approachable, and accountability. They might have shifted in priority, but they're still in the top 3. Their top hopes are still the same: full financial freedom, travel the world, and pursue hobbies. Their top fears are a bit of X and a bit of boomer. Won't have enough money to live comfortably, not reaching my full potential, and suffering a long-term illness. So this is quite interesting if you think about the age of these people, thinking about them suffering a long-term illness. Xers aren't thinking about that. Boomers are. That makes sense. They're a lot older. Suffering a long-term illness. Now, what's that about? Is that mental illness? Is that, physical illness? Is that, cancers and all? Is this where, it's happening for them? Is it also because maybe they are having families and they're concerned about if they're not here to look after their families, right? So there's an interesting thing there, I think. Gen Z. So I have a Gen Z at home. I have some Gen Z in my office, and I find them incredibly inspiring, but also very challenging. This is the first time where integrity has been removed from a top 3 value. So approachable and clear communication is still there. Empathy has come in. So this whole concept of empathetic leadership, of understanding me, of being able to be understood, of someone genuinely caring for me, is now so critical. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. So my Gen Z son, he had to get a job up when he left school. He went to he's going to uni, and we've got a Coles and a Woolworths, both sort of 10 minutes walk. And I said, why don't you apply? And he went, oh. So he applied. Now, in both of those for entry-level roles, you have to do a video interview. Totally makes sense. Technology, it's easy, blah, blah, blah. He refused to do it. And he said, I'm not doing it because it is inhumane. It doesn't respect me as a human, that process. And I feel disrespectful. I'm disrespected. And it's not valuing my time. And me flippantly as a Gen Xer said, well, your time's worth nothing because you don't get paid anything and you've got actually no skills, right? So you're there to get your first job. And he said, well, I won't work for an organization that treats people like that. Now, he's in a very blessed situation that he's not actually on, he's got a house to, live in, he's got food, he's got warmth. So, and as I said, I'm paying for his righteousness. So it's easy for him to do that. But I guess this whole thinking process of I'm not being valued as a human being, my feelings are not being valued, and therefore I will not work there, is a really interesting thing that I think we're all facing as we think about Gen Z coming through. Their top hope. So this is the first time where owning my own home is becoming a real issue. And in fact, there's a lot more research saying most Gen Zs don't believe that they'll own their own home, which makes other things like at least freedom, financial freedom and traveling the world much more important, because if I can't have a home, then I'm going to have experiences. They're worried about living comfortably, as per all the other generations. never being able to buy my own home, and being stuck in a job that I don't enjoy or find fulfillment in. So here's the thing, right? If you think about X's and Y's and boomers, a lot of the times, whether we like to say it or not, we kept working, we kept at that job, we kept turning up because we had a mortgage. Like, I don't know how many times that I've said, I've got to pay the mortgage. I'm here for the mortgage, right? Now, if you actually don't have that mortgage there to keep you there, and you hate your job or your manager, or you're not being developed, or then you're just not going to stay, because you can afford, theoretically, to drop $1,000 a month or $500 a month, or take a month off, or do these things if you don't have a looming mortgage, in front of you. Now, obviously, if you don't have a mortgage, you have rent, so you still got to pay those things. But this psychological thing of, I don't have a mortgage, I've got freedom. I mean, it's hard to sell a house and move overseas to Bali and live on $2,000 a month, but it's not hard to give up your rent and, and move out and put your stuff in storage or back in your mum and dad's garage, right? So there's a whole different mindset. So then when you think about attraction and retention, what do you need to do? So, and then we go into alphas. So we don't even have to think about alphas yet, because they're, the oldest one's 14. And the biggest things they're worried about is, whether their Xbox got batteries. So we haven't gone into that yet. So what are the things that are shaping Australia over the next decade? One, we're a growing nation with incredibly high spending power, and we have, we're in the Western world, and there's a lot of opportunities for us as a country and as individuals. There's the whole generational dynamics that we've just spoken about the different values and how things are changing. Overseas population will be required. So net positive immigration is going to be required to actually man or empower, to have people in our businesses to work, right? And as we become an aging population, and then finally decentralization of the population and some of the jobs that are being created that we don't have the skills for here in Australia, or actually nobody has the skills for. So I took this from a thing that I went to from the Democrats group. Again, amazing organization. And you can see that from now into the future, we're an aging population. By 2064, 25% of the population will be retired. Our working population or working age will drop from 66 to 60. And, we've got less childbirth, right? So we've got less children coming through. Now, that's going to cause an even bigger issue later when you think about who's going to be looking after us, how we're going to be paying for all this if we don't have superannuation and all that sort of thing. That's a bigger macroeconomic thing, but I'm looking at it from an employee and a labour perspective. Now, when you come through then to demographics, right? In 1996, after English as net of, how our backgrounds and how our culture was made up, we were mainly in English background, secondly New Zealand, and then it went into European, and then we had a little snippet there of, Vietnam, right? If you think about what our history was. Fast forward to 2021, and it's England, India, China, then New Zealand, then Philippines, and no broader Europe, right? And a lot of the English background is based from where, the people that are already here. So when you think about this from a employment perspective and a cultural perspective and a leadership perspective, there are very big differences in culturally and how people need to be led and inspired if you come from New Zealand or Italy or England versus if you come from India or China or the Philippines, right? And are our people equipped? Are our leaders equipped to manage and lead and inspire this wide range of human being that we are now expected to lead and inspire and keep psychologically safe? Quick answer is no, we're not. And you know that as L&D people and as leaders, you know that we're not doing this. But it's something that we really need to start thinking about and not putting our head in the sand about. And so then when you think about this new breed of people coming in. You're talking about Gen Zs that have a very different view, and then you've got cultural differences. So what is a, first generation Indian or Chinese or Filipino immigrant looking for when they come into Australia versus, and imagine they're Gen Z or an Xer or sorry, a Y versus an Australian born or an English European background. So they want stability, they want challenge. There's conscious and unconscious bias about language, like the amount of times I get told, oh, you speak English very well, right? Now, and I'll always say, oh, you don't have an, I've actually said people say to me, oh, you don't have an accent. And I say, yeah, I do. It's Bogan because I was born here. But, we are still saying these things, and I can own it because I am Australian born and I'm used to it. I've been in this world for a long time, but not all new immigrants or new Australians will be able to manage that. Some may or may not step up for themselves. They may not be able to, have courageous conversations as easily because it's not part of their cultural norm or their background. And what success looks like for an Australian-born, Australian-bred, employee versus a first-generation Indian employee are two different things. Titles, stability, challenge, innovation, much more important maybe for some. Title might be much more important for a new immigrant. So we need to be aware of these things and I think we know one size fits all, but are we taking that methodology enough in the way we attract, the way we retain, the way we develop our new breed of leaders coming through? And finally there, new immigrants, everybody wants to feel belonging. Like the Culture Amp, key metric is, do you feel like you belong in this organisation or team? If you do, you're going to get higher engagement and productivity. If you don't feel like you belong because there's no one that looks like you or someone doesn't understand what you're saying because your accent is different, if they don't understand, if they make funny faces when you bring your different food into the into the lunchroom, this is exclusion. It might not be direct. You might have diversity, lots of different people, different ages, different colors, different backgrounds, but if you're not including them and they're not feeling included, that's another level, right? And I know you all know this, but the ramifications of this is going to get larger and larger. And what you're going to get is more siloed. So we're actually working with an organisation now and it's an engineering business where they've got basically two streams of engineers, Indian born and all others basically. And there's such a huge disconnect. They're both awesome teams. They're incredible, skills. There's a creation of silo. So we need to work with them to understand how to overcome that because the way they think is so different. And it's not wrong, it's just different. So I'd like to do our first little quick survey here. If you could pull out your phones, please. This is the one time I say pull out your phone. QR code. I'd like you to tell me, what do you think your employees want at the moment? So I'm going to leave that there for a minute, and then I'm going to do this live. Fingers crossed it works. Okay, so you should still be able to scan the QR code. Let me move this so you can connect there. So we've got two people that have already answered. One saying, what do we think? Love, opportunity, flexibility, stability, perfect, well-being, Christine. Oh, they want me. Awesome. Love, yes. Make a difference, recognition, role clarity. Yep. Yes. A job, yes. Hybrid flexibility, to be heard and acknowledged, absolutely. So you can see here, I think, financial stability, absolutely. So we can see here, right, that there's lots of different things that we all believe that our people want, but the standouts are flexibility, opportunity, stability, recognition, and development. And, that human need of feeling valued, that you're adding value, that you're acknowledged, right? So I think we've got a good poll there, and the research actually supports you. So the research says the first thing people are looking, well, actually, this is not in order. So this, right, is stability. It has been exhausting for everybody, this change fatigue, COVID, no COVID, at home, not at home, hybrid, now you must be in 3 days a week. We've got flexible, but only some sort of flexible because you've got to still be in the, like you've got to have childcare ready at any time if you've got childcare, or everything so that you can come in, but you're allowed to stay at home. Restructures, you know, and then on a more global level and macro level, we've got interest rates, we've got wars, we've got uncertainty with elections, we've got all sorts of different things, right? So people just want to breathe, stop. Learning and development opportunities. Now, remembering again, especially for, you know, Gen Zs who are like, I'm not going to get a home, so I better have challenge and opportunity and learning and enjoy my job. You've got Ys and Zs who are saying, I want to reach my full potential. And is this my full potential? Slightly different. So for Gen Ys, it's probably doing better at this stage in their current stream. For Gen Xs, and again, we coach a lot of them, and they're actually going, is this it? Like, I'm marketing director. Do I want to be a marketing director? Do I want to be an engineer? I mean, the number of people we have saying, can I come and join you guys and be a coach, right? Because I love the team management. I'm sick of being a technician doing marketing or sales or whatever I'm doing. I want to learn to be a better leader. Feedback and challenge. So that's really important. And I guess too, what we're hearing from some of our middle managers is they are frightened to give feedback because of psychological safety. Am I allowed to say this, and am I not allowed to say this? If I say this and they get upset, how do I do this? So it's easier not to give any feedback at all. Flexibility, we talked about financial relief. So one is financial security. One is financial relief. We're seeing a lot of this and getting a lot of feedback on this again on our Ys and from our Ys and Zs of we've got recruitment freezes, we've got redundancies, we've got pay freezes, we've got budgets being cut, but we just made $10 billion in profit or $6 million in profit, or, you know, we had a 10% increase in profit versus last year. So there's a disconnect for people saying, I get that we need to cut budgets and not have learning and development and not get pay rises when we're struggling, like the whole SPC thing, you know, when the business is going down, people are willing to share, not so willing to share and make sacrifices when you're in the news for making, you know, record profits, right? So there's a real equity unfairness thing happening around here, and especially when you put in line interest rate increases, CPI increases, those sort of things. Inspiring leadership and leaders, it's a bit in Z, it's definitely in the alphas coming. They want to be inspired. They want more. They want to learn from. Don't want to be told. They don't want to be directed. They don't want to be manipulated. They want to be inspired to be better themselves. They want purpose more than just to pay. There's a lot more feeling in the Gen Zs around what we're doing to other people in the world, and also what we're doing to our world. So climate change, fairness, equality, equity, inclusion. So if your organisation is playing lip service only to some of these things, then you're going to lose them, and you're going to lose your best ones to other organisations that are doing it. And I'll tell you now, they might even take less pay. And so it won't be about to give you another $10,000 or $5,000. They will leave to find greater purpose and fulfillment in their lives. A sense of community, so culture, belonging, values, and cultural alignment. So this is where this whole acceptance of, if I'm from a different culture, do you understand that for me? Am I accepted, and can I be myself? And finally, again, companies who really care about people's well-being. So not, you know, dare I be flippant, not the ones that are saying you can come to yoga on every Thursday, but actually who will say, I can see that you're getting burnt out. You need to take Fridays off for the next 2 weeks or whatever it may be, right? They want not only organisations that allow infrastructure to do that, but they want managers that will do that. And I'm going to give you an example here. So my husband is not very well, and he worked for an organisation, and he had to stop working immediately. And his manager and his manager's manager, and actually the three up, said, what about your insurances? And we have income insurance, but we had that 3-month lag. And they said, we're going to pay for that 3 months until your insurance kicks in. Now, there's no policy on that. In fact, the policy is you use up your sick leave and then off you go. By all rights, they should have done that. Now, that helped us as a family, but the message that's sent to that whole team is that this company cares and truly cares about their people. Now, you can't do that for every person every time, and clearly my husband was a valued employee, so he got special treatment. But what I'm saying is you can't just talk about I care for you and then not take action. Like, you either do it or you don't. So that's what the research is saying, and I guess anecdotally you already know that because that's what you put in your Slido shares. Now, this study is a Gartner study, and what it shows is what employees are looking for in a job. And what it's done is it's compared what people wanted last year to this year. The ones there's been no change. Interestingly for me, manager quality, there's +1 change. Co-worker quality is a -1. So if you think about, and I hear this all the time, I don't love my job, right? But I love my people. I love the people I work with, right? So what this is saying is, I love the people I work with is a little bit less important to me than manager quality and stability. And I think this is information, especially as L&D professionals, that we need to be taking back to our organisations to get more budget, because even what we're seeing at PeopleCoach is that for some budgets have been either maintained or decreased, but the money is going into more compliance stuff, right? Rather than manager and technical development, rather than leadership development. So the stuff that is a slower build but more impactful over time is being taken away from to add back into technical compliance, psychological safety, which are all important, but thinking about if you develop someone and you keep them, what is that actually going to save your business and what's the ROI? So really thinking about that, and of course, stability. Now, what are the drivers? So why are people leaving? This is the interesting thing. They're leaving not because of manager quality, so that's good, but work-life balance. So people wanting to have more balance, and this is relating straight into burnout. Future career opportunities, so if they're feeling stuck in your organisation, and health benefits. So this, you can see, relates back to the Gen Y saying, I'm concerned about suffering a long-term illness, and the Zens who are talking about my well-being. Do you really care about me? Are you empathetic? Do you understand me? We can talk about the Gen Zs not having as much resilience, and, us Gen, no one cared about us Gen Xers. What do they expect? But the reality is it's a very different world. A lot of them went through COVID in their formative adulting years. And so there is a lot more mental pressure on people. So that's a really important thing. So I want you as L&D people and HR professionals and leaders thinking about what are we doing in these areas to stem the attrition, because you actually want to stop your high potential people leaving. And again, let's face it, people that are going to leave first are your high potential people that have more choices. Your people that are not as high potential or not as motivated or not as ambitious will stick it out longer because maybe they don't have options. Maybe they can't get the next job that they want. Maybe they've got other things on their mind, right? So drivers of attrition, drivers of attraction. So really thinking about what's happening there. One of our clients actually uses our programs as an attraction tool. So they say, if you join us, for their leaders, if you join us, we'll get you a coach for 12 months, right? And so they add that into the cost of recruitment and replace that manager quality metric there. So we at PeopleCoach are very practical, action-orientated people, because if you just talk blah, 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 and you know stuff, but you don't do anything about it, there is no value. So what can you do? Firstly, around purpose, having a really clear plan that adds a positive impact to the world and making it, customer centric. So you may or may not have everybody has a mission of some sort. Whether you live it or not is a different thing. A lot of missions can be very internally focused. And let's face it, making more money for shareholders is probably not very motivating for the average employee. So really looking from a values and strategy perspective of what's the purpose that you have. So at People Coach, it's our internal purpose is actually to make a better and fairer world through the democratization of coaching. And if you talk to any of our coaches, they will be able to rattle that off like that because they truly believe it and we live it. So once you've got there, you've got to communicate the plan and you've got to do it in your monthly meetings, your quarterly meetings, and have a one-page summary. Now, the feedback that we get from our emerging and developing leaders that we coach is they don't know what the strategic plan is. And I'll be honest, sometimes we talk to senior executives and they can't remember the number 4 thing. They can remember we have to do this and this and this, but they can't remember the 4th one. Now, when we then speak to CEOs and board members and we say your team doesn't understand the strategic vision, they'll go, I told them. I was at a stand-up, 3 months ago and I told them. So why don't they understand? And we've got this thing on the wall, so they should know. The reality is, and for anyone that's got children, and sometimes got to say things like 100 times before people get it. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do it 100 times, but one of a simple principle is reminding people of your mission, of the strategic plan, of the key pillar, of your values, whatever, in every meeting. So in every meeting that we have at People Coach, somebody will talk about our values. They'll say, blah, 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 James share, his humble excellence came out in this way this week, right? So we are constantly talking about it and constantly talking about our mission, which is how do we democratize coaching? So do you have that? If you don't, how can you get that? If you do have it, are you sharing it enough? The second one is invest in your people. Of course, I'm biased, right? We're a coaching organization. So, but invest in their well-being and their training, their development. Today's Are You Okay Day. So ask the question, but ask it with presence, with feeling, and mean it. What internal resources do you have? And I know that's probably going to put more pressure back on you guys in L&D, but how can you get champions to do other things? And then, not everything has to cost a lot of money, right? You can do group things. You can get experts in your team to, host a lunch and learn. If you see somebody that's doing well at something in one division of the organization, get them to share it with everybody else. Third one, create and communicate the succession planning, opportunities and what is required. So I know everybody has some sort of, achievement plan or appraisal process. Is it enough? Is it clear and is it practical or is it burden? As a leader, are you regularly having conversations around stop, start, continue? Are you giving continuous feedback that isn't scary? Are you building that feedback loop and culture? Are you doing career audits and are you sharing this in a timely way with your team? Do your high performers know that they're high performers and do they know when something's going to happen? You can't tell a high performer that they're a high performer and then not tell them that their next step is, to be promoted in 3 months. You can't just leave it as that. You've got to have a plan for them. Of course, again, biased. We love coaching. Coaching is quite different from mentoring, but, are you having coaching conversations? Are you getting your high potential coaches? Have they got mentors? And networking. Are you encouraging your team to network internally and externally? I read this research study, and I can't remember who wrote it, but it said something ridiculous like 50% of employees in organizations under 30 have not had a one-on-one conversation with a manager in their business over 50. So let's think this. I was like, what? How does that work? But think about it. If you're in a large organization, and let's say you're a frontline worker, let's say you're in retail, right? And you're a store manager. You might be a store manager at 28 or 29. You might report to someone who's your regional manager who's 35 or 36 or 37, who might report to someone who's in their 40s and they never speak one-on-one to anybody in their 50s. Like, that's quite incredible. So because, 50-year-olds actually have learnings and things to share and, knowledge, and 30-year-olds also have things to share and knowledge. So that two-way mentoring is not happening. So how are you doing internal networking as well as external networking? Invest in recognizing strong leadership. So we've talked about that one. I'm biased, and you guys are biased as well, I know. Develop and live your values and exit those who don't. So this one line that is, if your values are truly your values, they're a sackable offence if you don't live them. They are not words on a wall. You need to discuss and communicate them. Gen Zs will not put up with that, will not put up with the I want to say inauthenticity of values on a wall that aren't lived or understood. Flexibility and change. So we know that one size does not fit all. And remembering one size does not fit all just with generation, but culture. Your Indian Gen Z first generation or first year migrant is going to need very different leadership development, encouragement, and support than, a fifth generation English heritage, Australian born, person that's gone to a local school. Very different. And a really simple thing that you can do, and it's in life as well as in work, is just say thank you. It's not that hard. Don't say it if you don't mean it, but also remember to say it in the way that they need to hear it. So some are going to do it by formal. So I had feedback from somebody once saying that, yes, you give me good feedback, but never in front of the team, always just to me. And that's because I don't like it in front of a team. I don't actually like it because I'm a Gen Z and I'm Asian. So I'm not used to any kind words, right? So I'm not a kind words person. So I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. So when I do it in a one-on-one because that's the least, I think, scary for me to give it that way. And their response was, but I want it in front of everyone. Didn't quite say it like that, but basically that's what they meant. So really thinking about when you say your thank you, is it acts of service? Is it kind words? Is it gifts? Is it public acknowledgement? Is it quality time? Like, what is it? So I would like us to now all be quiet for 5 minutes or maybe 3 minutes. And I want you to think about what is one thing you could do today to improve your employee value proposition, either in the attraction, retention, or development phase. The second thing is, what resources or support do you need to make this happen? And then when will you do this? So if everybody could take a few minutes now to actually write that down, that would be fantastic. And then I'd love people to share if they're open to it. Ben, this is where we need thinking music. The recordings will be shared. Beck. Okay, has anybody sort of been really clear and got any would like to share what they're going to do to improve their value proposition? You can either unmute yourself and share, or you can put it in the chat and I can read it out anonymously or not anonymously. surely someone's going to do something.
Hi, Christine, it's Janice.
Hi.
Hi. Just picking up on some of the three key drivers. I think becoming more proactive and transparent around our career development opportunities within our business. I think at the moment it kind of sits with HR, and we know that we'll step in and do it, but we actually don't talk to our people about it. So it sits there not really promoted. And so I think that we can actively do work in that space that makes it easier for our employees to access that and learn and understand.
Awesome. So what resources do you need to do that or support?
I think we're going to need to have a look at our systems and processes, and talk to our senior leadership team, get them on board with it, and education piece with our leaders and senior managers.
Excellent. And when are you going to make your first step?
At my next HR monthly meeting.
Awesome. So it's always easy to say, it's always harder to do, right? Because it's got to over and above, have to fit in with all the BAU stuff that we're doing. But it's really important to really be clear about what you want to do, what the outcome, and then actually set a time to do it, because otherwise it just becomes another thing in the pile of nice to haves, where actually career succession is critical, like for successful businesses, right? You want the career retention, you want the high potential employee retention, or even, to be honest, average employee retention. Like, you want your solid people to be there solid, and you want your great people to stay. And so your problem, Janice, is not a problem that other people don't have. I'm sure we're actually working with a large global organisation at the moment to launch their career succession framework, and we're going to be part of that process to kick it off around taking the monkey off the HR back, and honestly off the leader back onto the individual, that it's actually an individual's role to develop their own career, not HR or their managers. So thanks for that. I've got another one here: make it easier to provide recognition to colleagues, embed the link for company-wide recognition within our internal Yammer. That's nice. Someone's running to a coaching call. That's good. Okay, anybody else want to share before I go on? Not promoting our wellbeing offerings. We have fantastic. So if I always say sometimes, like, you can do lots of good work, but if your marketing's no good, it doesn't matter. So in this case, Angela, it's your internal marketing. If you have great things that no one knows about, what's the point of that? So that's fantastic. Okay, so moving on. This is just a little bit about our programs, because that's who we are. We support all the way through. That's what we do. And here are our clients. Here's our impact. I'm looking at the slides. These are our amazing coaches. I will spend 1 second here, because we are very proud of the coaches that we have. Now, I do have, and we support the Hunger Project. But we do want you to tell us what you think about this presentation, if that's possible, please. We at PEEPLCOACH are very, we're a learning and curious organisation. AITD, it's in the name, training, development, always doing better. So if you could spend literally 30 seconds, click your QR code, give us some feedback, anything that you'd like us to do differently next time, either myself or this presentation topics, whatever, please let us know. We would be happy to make amendments and change. There's the sources. And if you do want to subscribe to our newsletter, you can click the QR code. I'm QR code all over the place. And then you can, join our newsletter, where we share all our tips and thoughts and all those sort of things. I have a few minutes, because I talk very fast. So I did have one question, though. I think, sorry. Vibwa, I think you asked me, can I explain this slide more? Can you take me to which slide that you were talking about, and I'm happy to explain that a little bit more if you'd like. No?
It was basically about why people stay in the workforce, Christine, or why people leave. So it was the first slide about, how those little shifts and changes.
And is there a specific question on that?
I think you unpacked it as you went.
Unpacked it. Okay, great. No problem. No problem. As we have 6 minutes, any questions or thoughts or anything for people to share? I've never had people be so quiet.
All right, well, that's true for Christine. Thank you so much for that presentation. It's awesome getting all this great stuff. People are interested in the links that you had in it was the third or the fourth last slide, the references.
They're all the references. So,
is there something you can share in the chat as well?
Yeah, I can share this. Let me just do this. I'm going to put all the sources into here. But I think the big one to look at is the McCrindle generational report. That's fantastic.
A great report. And thanks for spending a little bit of time on it, try to work out.
Ryan's got a question?
Yeah.
I just wanted, I've got a really specific question I don't want to ask in front of the group. Is it okay if I contact you directly, Christine?
Sure. Do you want my email?
That'd be great.
I'll put it in the chat. Sure. Oh, it's gone in capitals. I'm not yelling at you. Yeah, sure.
You might be after you get my email.
Okay, great.
So you've shared that information.
I've shared the links. Yep.
Shared the links. That's great. So if you want to keep a hold of the links in here, you can save the chat and grab those links too. So take a bit of a moment to do that. But at this time, just wanted to again thank Christine for this great presentation. Lots of terrific insights. Pretty exciting to see where PeopleCoach is going and the things that you offer. Thanks everybody for scanning the QR code to get a bit of feedback for us. We find that it's if you don't do it now, it's less likely that you do it with a follow-up email. So we really do appreciate that because it helps us to shape what our webinars will look like each month. We love to bring great speakers and good information to help you in your professional development. That's what we're all about. So your feedback's important to us. Like if you have that moment, let us know about other webinars, speakers, topics that you're interested in. We do have a national conversation that helps to steer the types of articles that go into our magazine, for example. If you look at the aitd.com.au website, you can see some of those current topics as well. So maybe there's some, a webinar on one of those particular topics you're interested in. We love your feedback there. Other than that, I hope you have a really great rest of the day, the afternoon, and we look forward to catching you at the next webinar. I should mention we've got Excellence Awards coming up on the 10th of October. Very exciting. We've got a couple hundred people registered already. Still got like a month to go before people get in there. So please get in, register. You'll see Christine face to face.
Yeah, we're there.
We've got Michelle who's going to give a bit of a chat, and we're also going to invite the winners to stick around and network and give more information about why they're a winner. So it's a slightly different format this year at the Hilton in Sydney. And we have booked a place for conference next year, which is 21st to the 23rd of May in Melbourne, and it'll be at the Sofitel. So we were really excited to negotiate the rates with them, offer really great quality food experience and a terrific venue, and right in the middle of the city as well too. So we're looking forward to everyone coming along to that as well. We're expecting a good crowd. And for those who came along to the Adelaide function a couple of months ago, it was really great. We got great feedback and people really got a lot out of it. So we'd love to see you there as well. If you're a member, you get it cheaper too. So please please join up, and it's definitely worth it. All right, well, with that, we'll wish you all a great afternoon. Thanks very much for coming.